And so the American says to the guy who bumped into him, "Screw you," while the Canadian says to the guy who bumped into him, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I didn't see you there." And then, when he's walking away, he thinks, "What a fucking asshole." Stay tuned for Alchemy. Hello, everybody! It is the umpteenth of December, 2022 AD. And we are coming to you from Seattle, Washington, of course. My name is Caston, and this is the Alchemy Podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, let's get right into it. So, I'm going to get letters for this. I'm certainly going to get letters for this. I'm so sorry in advance. But please understand, before you listen to this podcast, today's episode is about gender. I am in favor of you being whatever gender you are. And if that gender is not male or female, I support you 1,000%. I want to make sure that that's clear before I say what must be said. Understand I support you. I'm on your side. Now, if you had something like a tattoo, right, that you got from some sketchy person in some sketchy part of town, right? You think it's Japanese for like warrior or something like that, right? But then you go to a Japanese restaurant and your friend who works there, the server, comes over and she says, "Oh, can I help you? Oh," and this is my worst Japanese accent. "Oh, why do you have tablecloth on your arm?" And you say, "What do you mean the tablecloth's on the table?" And she says, No, that says tablecloth on your arm. Why do you have a tattoo of the word tablecloth in Japanese? Oh shit, I thought this meant warrior. Womp, 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 womp. And then you find out the hard way, oh, that word didn't mean what you thought it meant. Well, this is me telling you about your tablecloth tattoo. So we have a number of people who identify themselves these days as non-binary. Well, you shouldn't, because that's wrong. You are not a non-binary, sorry. Shall we talk about this? Let's talk about this. Let's start with non-binary here. If you have two parents who came together and loved each other very, very much, and then the stork came and made you, then you are a binary. Binary, you see, denotes quantity. And if you're comprised of two parents who made you, then congrats, you're a binary. You can't help that if you're a human being. Well, most people, I guess, amoebas and Jesus Christ. But the gender dynamic will actually accurately be called a dynamic, but you can use these words to describe this accurately. Dynamy, duo, duality, pair, couple, twin, reflection, etc. These denote generally pairs. Right? But what you're referring to is relationships. Now, either with yourself, which has a different series of words altogether, or with other people. But binary refers to how many people, not those relationships that you have with people, or the relationship that you have with yourself and how you identify with yourself, because that wouldn't be a relationship. That would be identification, and that's that. So you use the word non-binary for this, to say that you are not part of the male-female duality. There's another accurate word. You use the word non-binary to describe yourself, but that is incorrect. I'm so sorry to tell you, but I would mark it wrong if you took a test and answered that, because it is wrong. Sorry, that's not what those words mean. Womp womp. Now, if you were a single-celled organism, you would be a unary. If you were a party of 3, you would be a ternary. If you were a party of 4, you would be a quaternary, and at that point, your table is ready. And if you were a party of 5, I've seen every episode, and I'm a huge fan, but you are a binary, because you have a comprisation of constituent components in two parents who came together and loved each other very, very much to form the thing that you are referring to, you. Now, if you answer gender, blank space, male, female, whatever, if you answer gender non-binary, that's also incorrect on any form you sign, because you're not actually answering the question. It's like if you were trying to describe a fruit, right? I have a fruit in front of me. It's a red fruit. Cool. It's a fruit that is not blue. Cool. Well, what type of fruit is it? It's a non-blue fruit? Okay, but what type of fruit is it? Is it blueberry? Is it blue raspberry? Is it... Oh, no, it wouldn't be blue, would it? Is it strawberry? Is it apple? Is it a cherry? What is it? You're not actually referring to what you are. You're only referring to what you aren't. Now, the male-female binary is only a binary if you are referring to some guy and some lady in, like, a mathematical word problem, i.e., how many people are in this room? Count them. The relationship between men and women and that they have with and for one another in relation to gender is primarily three. And you could think of these as, like in astrology, you have cardinal signs, mutable signs, fixed signs, right? You have sulfur, salt, and mercury in alchemy. You have positive, positive, negative, 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 positive, right? Male, female, 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 male, male. Straight, gay, lesbian. This is not to say that there aren't other gender sexual orientations. Just I'm gay myself, just to roll with me on this. Don't write me letters, please. I won't read them. But that is to say, if you have a relationship that you're dating somebody, you're generally only dating one person. Congrats, you two are a binary. Because you are one thing, that other person is another thing. You are in a unit together, ergo your unit is a binary. Technically a trinary, if you want to think of yourselves individually and then the unit altogether as its own thing. But really, it's a binary that makes that unit up. And so, it's a binary / +1 trinary. But I'm not trying to invite myself into anything, but it's just it's esoteric math. Roll with me on this. So your relationship with another person or your friendship with another person, there's only two people in that relationship. Your relationship with another person is your relationship with another person. Your friendship with this other guy over there is your friendship with that other guy over there. But, you know, your friend Bobby over here is not that other guy. Your relationship with Bobby, there's only two people in that relationship. You and Bobby. Right? So really non-binary in this instance could describe, not define or be the label for, but could describe more accurately polyamory. Right? If you had more than one boyfriend, or if you're like a polygamist or something like that. But it has nothing to do with how you interpret your own psycho-emotional, personal gender, etc. The word non-binary for this concept, the phrase non-binary rather, is incorrect at several key levels. First, it begins with a negative. Non, in other words, not, nothing. Meaning that you start by saying there's nothing there in existence in what you're trying to describe. And then of what you're trying to describe, it's not this thing. In other words, what you're saying that when you're saying that you are non-binary, you're saying that there's nothing here. There's nothing here. But if there were something here, you can bet your bottom dollar that that something wouldn't be a binary. Binaries are bad. You see how silly that sounds? Because there's nothing there. A non-binary. Well, okay, well, if there's not a not binary there, then what is there? There's a joke in Latin. What am I if not you? And people take it seriously sometimes, but it's a joke. It's intentionally incorrect. It's supposed to be an absurdity, right? And so, because you're not describing what you are. What am I if not you? You're still not describing you. And so you begin with a negative, meaning that you start with like a black hole, nothing there, nothing in existence. And then you establish not what you are, but what you aren't first. Now, non-binary can be a descriptor for your gender, but your gender cannot be non-binary. That makes no sense. Non-binary describes that which you are not that what you are. And so you're using the term incorrectly. Not to mention that binary denotes quantity and not relationships once again. So if you have a multitude of things, 2 specifically, that's a binary of things. In this bag of things, there are 2 things in this bag. Therefore, that's a binary of things in this bag. That has nothing to do with the relationship that they have with one another. It could be an apple. It could be an apple and a screwdriver. So you're looking for a relational word. Alterna, secunda, duo, duality, opponentry, or opposites, or opponents. Polarity, by the way, is the word that you're really looking for, but you're failing to apprehend. Specifically, the concept of what you actually think of as being called non-binary is actually called either one of 3 things. And this is why this system is actually more beautiful than your very erroneously named non-binary system of identifying yourself. Because, first of all, you are a binary. Second of all, you're not nothing. And of all the somethings you could be, since you are nothing, you certainly wouldn't be this binary, but you still haven't identified what you are. And so this is why none of that makes sense. And so the polarity between men and women and the relationships that they have with and for one another, or the polarity, if you are actually polyamorous, of the binarial concept of dating. But you are either transpolar, sanspolar, or extrapolar. Now, this is what these things mean. This is why this is more beautiful. Because rather than one blanket phrase like Black Lives Matter, okay, cool, but what about, Keisha's life over there? Specifically. I don't care about saying Black Lives Matter. I care about telling Keisha over there, who is Black specifically, her life individually matters. That each life matters. Not all lives matter, because I know the implication, but I take it a different way. Each life matters. Each individual life matters. I don't subscribe to the premise that I have to paint people with all big swaths of identity politics shit. I hate identity politics. Identity group politics are awful. Oh, I do great with women, says the candidate. Okay, cool. All women? Or every single one? Have you asked every single one? I don't think all women will agree on anything ever in the history of mankind. Will that ever happen? Yet they all agree on you? Come on. You mean supporting women who are in like a majority of in your party? See, there's nuance there, but it's like it's an identity group polling swath. And it's a product of politics, and it's awful. So I do each life matters instead. Now, each trans or sans or extra polar life matters. If you're non-binary, you don't matter, because unfortunately, you don't exist. You tell us so as you describe yourself as non-binary. Now, if you are transpolar, that means you have transcended the polarity, the polarized relationship between male and female, and that gender dynamic, that polarity of positive, negative, sun, moon, man, woman, top, bottom, peanut butter and jelly, Star Trek, Star Wars. You have transcended that polarity. You are something more than the sum of your parts. When you're perhaps part of that polarity at one point. In fact, you must be a person who started out as male or female, or identifying as male or female, to be transpolar, because you'd have to transcend the polarity. Alternative, it means you can cross it. You can cross the polarity. It could also be a substitute phrase for transgender. It could work both ways, but in this instance, and how polar works in Latin, it's actually transcending the polarity. The second option is sans polarity. Like the sans family of fonts on computer stuff doesn't have the need for the frills of the serif and the fanciness of the serif fonts family. Well, the sans is very bare bones, minimalist, right? Well, just like the sans family of fonts doesn't have need for the frills of the serif family of fonts, to be sans polar means that you exist beyond the polarity that men and women have for one another and for that gender dynamic. You don't have need of it, but you still exist. You're not a non-thing. Now, you wouldn't be a non-polarity, because what would that even be? Relationship between you and what other person? Now, could you be reflecting? Yes, but that's also a different family of words. Could you be could you have an imaginary friend who's actually real, like Susie in Space Cases in the 1990s kids Star Trek on Nickelodeon. Oh, I love that show. Oh, I'm so sad when Catalina, like, didn't die, quote unquote, but went to that alternate universe and got replaced by her imaginary friend, Susie. The other thing about that is that your self-identification has an entirely different like family of words to attribute to it, but we're not going to get into that in this episode. We're going to save that. The third option is extrapolarity or extrapolar. You're extrapolar, meaning that you understand yourself to be a thing that is unlike any other thing out there. You are a thing that, or I mean, you don't have to be unlike every other thing. You could be a group of you that believe that you're all the same thing and see yourselves the same way, know yourself to be these ways, and more power to you all. But you would be extrapolar then, because you emerge. You're emergent from. You are from something that is beyond that polarity. You're new on Earth, essentially, as far as gender dynamics go. You are a new thing. You are from left field, or somewhere else. And so these three words, transpolar, sanspolar, and extrapolar, are far better than non-binary to describe yourself with because, I want you to exist. Transpolar is, and sanspolar and extrapolar take into account the personal life story of the person using the term. It's not just some broad brush painted, term that, oh, we're non-binary, yeah. Well, first of all, no, you're not, Skippy. And second of all, well, yeah, but is that everybody? Well, what if there's someone out there who's more unique? These terms are specifically, and they have nuance to them that are important, that determine which one is appropriate for you, based upon your own life story. And so if you feel like you've transcended the polarity between men and women through your life experiences, then you are transpolar. Congratulations. It's a great way to be. If you feel that you just exist, but you're beyond the need of the polarity and the relationships that men have with women and women have with men and the gender dynamic there too, relating of those two genders, then you would be sanspolar. And congratulations. It's a great way to be. If you think that you are this, or actually if you know yourself to be this thing that's beyond that polarity, you're just from left field and you are extrapolar. And congratulations. That's a unique and wonderful and great way to be. The nuances of one's personal life determine which of these three terms is appropriate for them. And so the nuance and difference in these words is very important. It's important enough to give it consideration. Why? Because each individual person matters. Each life matters. More than Black Lives Matter, more than All Lives Matter. More than both of those combined. Each life matters. And it matters to that one. Even if it doesn't matter to 99% of the rest, it matters to that one. Who cares about the other 99%? Fuck the 99%. That one, that individual over there with a different idea. Why is he standing out? I want to hear from him. Tell me about your gender. Well, I'm extrapolar. Excellent. Wonderful. I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to the table. And their lives are important enough to give it consideration to. And so are these terms. Also, you use the word cis wrong, like CIS. I'm not a cis male, I'm a male, period. You don't know what words mean. Please allow me to educate you. We'll be right back.
Bored with man's best friend?
Sorry, Fido, we're gonna have to drown you.
Why not try man's first cousin? At petsovernight.com, we've got every primate in stock, from spider monkeys to gorillas. You'll love your new best friend.
Mommy, Jim bit me.
Oh, yeah, then you just bite him back then, okay, honey?
Petsovernight.com, delivering little bundles of love in a box directly to your door.